Alright, hello everyone. It is me, Alien Spaceship. And let's see. Alright. I am back, everybody. I had to go and reset something, but now I am here. I'm going to do something here. Okay. Alright, so basically we left off last. We were talking about the game, and we were doing some things with the talking about the various like stuff from some sports stories and things like that, because we were watching the ghoul thing from the pirate game, and the ghoul was getting angry and trying to attack my pirate, and it kept on trying, taking my pirate out. So that was quite funny to see, and then it went out, and we had to reset some things to get it back. Alright, so basically, as we were talking about with the Crumbly trial, it was, that was a very crazy trial, and we'll be continuing to talk about it and go through it. But I just think that also on the stand, she didn't really do that well either. Jen didn't do that well on the stand. So that also caused a lot of problems with her defense, because a lot of times when somebody is a defense and they go on the stand, then it seems like a whole world of problems for the defendant happening. So it's best for them to not be defending themselves or being on the stand, and that's usually how it goes. But when they go on the stand, I'd say most, if not all the time, from what I've seen, it causes them to have even more problems. So with their case, it causes more harm than good. So I'm going to read about the island that I was just on in the game. Alright. And explain to you all about it. Let's see. Yeah, better and true, and we are back. Yeah, hello Moki in chat. And yeah, so I had to go reset some stuff, and now we are here again. Yeah, and Moki said she had some alien links for me. If you could feel free to send it. Oh, hello, E-Frog. Welcome, buddy. And what I do for people that I know from YouTube, from the chat rooms, I make them a mod. So I'm going to give you your wrench, E-Frog, as a thank you for being here and chilling. Alright. Welcome. I have a couple of UFO related links for you if you want. Yeah, Moki, feel free to send them to me. I'll be glad to look at them. Shout out to E-Frog, cool people. Alright. And while we have that come in, we'll have... Alright, thank you, Moki. Okay, right now, let's switch over and talk about this. Okay. Alright, let's see. Copy this. And put it here. Alright, and the link to a preview of a much longer interview that just posted be fine review as long as you mention a link to a full interview. Okay, so I'll read that again. Okay, so that one link to a preview of a much longer interview that just posted should be fine to review as long as you mention to link to a full interview. Okay. I'm gonna post this right now, to everybody. Okay. I'll go and right now react to it. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna switch it over. Holy smoke smokes. Nice. Okay, so we're going to go here. Okay, thank you, Moki. Alright, so we're going to switch this so people could hear what's going on. Make sure they could see it. They could see it, okay.
To collect DNA from aliens.
John Ramirez, former CIA officer,
All right, so we have, this is going to be a preview to a much bigger interview. Chris Ramsey, I don't know if I'm saying their last name right, but shout out to them. My interview with John Ramirez is now up, link below, and we have the link in the chat for people to go and view this. And this is just a little short clip of it, and a shout out to them. All right, here we go.
5-year career.
CIA had a program to trace this alien DNA in certain families.
I did start from the beginning, but we'll do it again. Okay.
Has there ever been a situation that you were in where you've gotten confirmation of government's involvement with human-alien hybrids?
Yes.
Okay. From a credible source, you can say.
Yes.
They know about the hybrids.
Yes.
I mean, gun to your head right now, you would say absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. They were able to collect DNA from aliens.
John Ramirez, former CIA officer, 25-year career.
CIA had a program to trace this alien DNA.
Yeah, and absolutely, that's what we've been talking about a lot on the channel, where there's a lot of this government, we call it government, we say government, information about the aliens that they have been concealing for a while from people, and now it's nice to see whistleblowers come out and talk about the truth, and this is a very clever interview. It's good to see this information getting exposed.
In certain families, and particularly their children, were of interest to CIA.
The CIA was tracking the activity of hybrids, human-alien hybrids in the United States.
That and going back in their lineage.
In that 25 years.
Did you encounter anyone you knew for sure was read into one of the deeper programs?
Yes.
Did you have a lot of interactions with this person?
Yes, I did. My name was submitted for that particular compartment. And the Pentagon came back and said, no, we're not going to read John Ramirez into that. No way.
You specifically?
You specifically cannot be read in. He said, you don't understand, John. This program is the highest secret, top secret in the entire United States government.
Right, and it would be a top secret. Wow, I really think that this is mind-blowing that it's, this is coming out, and so it would be, because if people knew about these aliens and things like that, it could cause a public panic possibly, but eventually I do think people should know the truth about it. It's very, absolutely telling. And also, Moki says if y'all are interested, you can go to Chris Ramsey's YouTube for a full 2-hour interview. I'm going to watch it later. I subscribe to him. All right, so I'm going to pin what Moki just said. Yeah, subscribe to Chris Ramsey. Watch the full interview. I highly recommend it. Doing Lord's work with this, definitely, and exposing what's going on for all humanity to know what the truth is. All right.
This top secret information exceeds that of Manhattan Project. His branch did operations under the sea, retrieving things. Bob, one of my engineers, was looking at one of the manuals. It's that thick. and he left that on his desk. The title was UFO Propulsion Systems, Manual of Operations.
We were flying something that wasn't a satellite.
What did it look like?
It looked like an egg. I personally had only one, I would call bad, but not demonic, experience. And that experience was with a reptilian-like being that showed...
Right, the reptilian beings, and they also were quite demonic. And as I said, shout out to Chris Ramsey. I recommend watching this full interview over there on his channel. And definitely these demons, these demonic creatures, you know, because the Bible talks about they were these reptile-type creatures. It does talk about that. And that's what I believe that they are. It doesn't mean every single one of the aliens are from I believe there are aliens from other planets, but yes, you could see there's a correlation from that other theory about the fallen watchers in this.
Showed up in my condo when I lived in Washington, D.C. And the other I can't identify because it was shrouded. It was wearing a cloak.
A hood.
A hood, yeah, a cloak and a hood. And they showed up one night, and they just, I woke up and...
Oh, don't mind us. We just want to let you know that we know you moved.
And then I went to medical services.
I had something done here.
And can I get those records? He said, sorry.
Your medical records are classified. You cannot have them.
Okay.
Wait, they classified your own medical records?
Implant.
Right, because they're trying to classify the medical records, in my opinion, you know, to conceal the information about, you know, exposing what's going on. But as I said, it's always good when we have these whistleblowers come out. And hello, Anna. It's great to see you, and hope that you're doing well. But they aren't demonic. Supposedly, the reptilians are our allies. I understand now. Maybe there could be truth to that, but I cannot deny that the devil is seen as a serpent, and that is a reptilian. So maybe there are good ones and bad ones, but they do describe the devil as a serpent. But yeah, as I said, there are probably good and bad ones. Thank you for your point of view. Okay, yes, and Moki says to conceal that he had implants. Right, exactly. Because they had the implants, he had the implants in him, and they went to conceal that information, you know, because they want to censor what is really going on. Thank you, Moki. Yeah, Anna, they weren't on trial today.
Plants are real.
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy theory, and hybrids are real. That's not a conspiracy theory.
And as I said, watch the full interview at Chris Ramsey's channel, the full interview. Shout out to him. I'm going to watch it later. That sounds very cool. And it's good that he did this. So thank you, Moki, for sending this and that we have a discussion about it. And yeah, with the aliens, there's different theories about what they are, and I don't know everything, and I like the open discussion about them. And thank you, everybody, for giving your perspective about it. Whatever you all think is fine with me. Yeah. So, yeah, it was Friday and Thursday they weren't going to be doing it, Anna. All right, now going to this other link that she sent me. Let's see. Oh yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, they just work when they want to. Yeah, definitely. Moki said she's looking around for the hybrids. Yeah, and I do believe the hybrids are real. I do believe the hybrids are real. All right, this next part is this. Say what you want about Chris Bledsoe. You don't know if they know they are hybrids. Interesting. It would be interesting to know if there's a way to detect them. It would be good to know if there's a way to detect how to figure them out. All right, this next one is from a clip from Chris Bledsoe and about UFOs. All right, so we're about to play this. All right.
And I've told it in my book, and I've told it many times in the last 12 years. One thing she told me was, when you see Iran and Israel exchanging missiles, and I saw it, the way she tells me is a vision of, I see it like a living picture screen. I could see the rockets flying. Then all of a sudden, orbs appeared out of the ocean and everywhere. And I told her.
Yeah, the orbs and something. So this so Chris was seeing these UFOs come out the ocean and come out these different places, these orbs. And there's been a lot of scenes with wars in the Middle East and also in Ukraine and stuff that orbs and these UFO type sightings have been seen. Yes, I don't have the video showing on the screen. I'm just playing the audio.
The government, that's if this happens, the orbs are going to appear and wake people up and stop it. That's what she told me. And I've told it in my book, and I've.
All right. Moki, if you want me to show the video, I will. If you want me to show it. And basically, but yeah, so that is, a clip from that. And put this right here. All right, here is the video part. I'll show it. And I play it from the beginning.
And I've told it in my book, and I've told it many times in the last 12 years. One thing she told me was, when you see Iran and Israel exchanging missiles, and I saw it, the way she tells me is a vision of, I see it like a living picture screen. I could.
Right. So, and what he's saying is that he is seeing the orbs and stuff that we were talking about. They definitely are real, and they are there. Yes. Hello, Lynn. Good to see you.
To see the rockets flying. Then all of a sudden, orbs appeared out of the ocean and everywhere. And I told the government, that's.
This is really, wow, this is very captivating indeed. Wow.
If this happens, the orbs are going to appear and wake people up and stop it. That's what she told me.
Yeah, and that is what people, have been seeing these orbs and during war zones and things like that. Thank you, Moki, for the 2 links. And that is, they certainly are there. In spite of what people may think, they certainly are there. And go further into this, and let's see. So now there's a theory about orbs that I found from one of the viewers from one of the different channels I was watching, and he was saying that he caught a video of one of the orbs, and with the video of the orb, he caught for a second, and the thing that you see in the sky, the orb part, he believes is one of the quartz crystal. That the orb runs off the energy of a quartz crystal, and that's the orb part that you see, and there's other parts of the vehicle that are, invisible. So that is something quite fascinating. And we have a history of orbs going back to Germany. In the 1500s, they're seeing these things, and going to this part right here. and Moki said something. So, what is being said that the others have warned is that if Israel and Iran go to war, the Iron Dome will fall, and when that happens, the orbs will come and stop it, and that is when the world will know. Oh, Moki, thank you. Okay. So, they are going to stop it, and the world will know, and that will institute the other stuff. Ah, okay. Thank you, Moki. I didn't think about that. And especially with the attribute of the religious factors with that would cause billions of people to be moved by it at the same time. So yeah, Moki, that's a very, I believe that's a plausible theory. And we were talking about, 2027 was going to be the year of their alleged reveal. And with this war, that could set it in motion for that to happen. So, yeah, very, that is some very shocking news. Thank you. And yeah, and I've seen orbs from the clips on YouTube. Yes, Abby, definitely. Amen. And hopefully that both sides can have peace and they could have, not have this conflict. Amen. The Iron Dome is supposed to fall within 7 months. Oh, okay. Okay. And yeah, because no one likes a war, and they, there's a lot of casualties, and this world's falling apart, and that's part of a prophecy, Moki, from the Revelations, that it'll be from a war with Israel where their Messiah will come. It's different from the Messiah that the Christians, Muslims, and believe in, which is Jesus. But they have their, a Messiah will come that the Christian scriptures will believe in our interpretation it to be an antichrist. And then John talked about how there would be the impure frog spirits that would come. And this is from my perspective, from a religious point of view. So yeah, this would bring on the temple from being built and stuff like that. So interesting things may be happening in the coming years, in my opinion. Oh, there's Sharon. Ah, Sharon, you're back. Excellent. Yeah, so thank you, Moki. This is very, maybe prophecies might be being fulfilled right in front of our eyes. Definitely. All right, 1561 celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg. So I've showed this before a couple of times. So this is a incident that occurred where you had these orbs that were flying over Nuremberg, and as I said, it looks just like the orbs that we've been talking about. That looks just like the orbs that we've been seeing and been discussed all the way hundreds of years later. It's quite daring, quite fascinating. Alien, I'm going to post a couple of links for you to review later to see if you find them interesting. Okay, Moki, I will review them later. Thank you. Whenever you're ready to send them to me, I'll save them. All right, thank you. All right. In April 1561 broadsheet by Hans Glasser. And my name is Hans Hansel, so it's the same name that I have. It's a common name in the Dutch, Germanic countries. And this was in Nuremberg, Germany. Same place of the Nuremberg trials that occurred. And the other things that have happened. Let's see, you're going to put text. Text edit. Okay, and we're going to copy. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go and... Thank you, Moki. Then get this one. Get this one. And get that one. 3 and then 4. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you like the pick. It's very cool. Okay. Here we go. We're going to now start it. Let's get right into this. An April 1561 broadsheet by Hans Glasser described a mass sighting of celestial phenomena, or unidentified flying objects (UFO) above Nuremberg, then a free imperial city of the Holy Roman Empire. UFOologists have speculated that these phenomena may have extraterrestrial spacecraft. Skeptics assert that the phenomenon was likely to have been another atmospheric phenomenon such as a sundog, although the print does not fit the usual classic description of the phenomena. History. A broadsheet news article printed in April 1561 describes a mass sighting of celestial phenomena. The broadsheet, illustrated with a woodcut and text by Hans Glasser, measured 26.2 centimeters by 38.0 centimeters. The document is archived in the prints and drawings collected by Zentra Bilibik Zurich, or Zurich. Zurich. Yeah, the first name is wild. So Zurich is better. Yeah, and stop rocking, you feel CD hook. Alright, I'll stop rocking. Alright. According to the broadsheet around dawn, on April 14, 1561, many men and women of Nuremberg saw what the broadsheet describes as an aerial battle out of the sun, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object, exhausted combatant spheres falling to earth, followed by appearance of large black triangle objects and exhausted combatant spheres falling to earth in clouds of smoke. The broadsheet claims that the witnesses observed hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved. See Diok. Hilarious. Moved erratically overhead. The wood-cut illustration depicted objects of various shapes, including crosses without spheres and on the arms, small spheres, two large crescent, a black sphere, a cylindrical objects from which several small spheres emerged and darted around the sky of dawn. Drunk typing. Seamen. I love seamen. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know you love seamen. Especially from space where they have Timu and Sheen and the other places. Yeah. Scared. Who doesn't love to get a little CD hook? Yeah. I know, right? I know, right? Oh yeah, the toothpaste gang. That's what that is. The toothpaste gang. All right, and this is the broadsheet text. The text of broadsheet has been translated by Issel von Jacobi as follows. In morning of April 14, 1561, at daybreak between 4 and 5 a.m., a dreadful apparition occurred on the sun. And then this was seen in Nuremberg, in the city, before the gates in the country, by many men and women. At first there appeared in the middle of the sun two blood red semicircular arcs, just like the moon. It is last quarter and the sun, above and below, and both. I try not to laugh from what was said before. Both sides, the color was blood. There stood a round ball of partially dull, partially black, fervorous color. Likewise, there stood on both sides, and as torus about the sun, such blood red ones, and other balls in large number. Balls in large number. Hilarious chat. Hilarious. All right. Balls in large number. And we're talking about dick, balls in large number, and toothpaste. I mean, we got ourselves the chats. This chat's ready to go now. Or the party is started. About 3 in a line, 4 in a square, and also some alone. In between these globes, there were visible a few blood red crosses, between which there were blood red strips becoming thicker to the rear, and in the front, malleable like rods of reed grass, which were intermingled among them, 2 big rods, one on the right and the other on the left, and within the small and big rods there were 3, also 4 and more globes. These are started to fight among themselves, so that the globes which were first in the sun flew out to the ones standing on both sides. Thereafter, the globes standing outside the sun and the small large rods. Open up, there's going to be some, balls, ball appetit, a ball buffet, flaming toothpaste balls of fire. Thinking about starting a new toothpaste brand for my men who like the sea. Ah, yeah. That sounds like a great idea. Definitely on board for that, Abby. Flew into the sun. Besides, the globes flew back and forth among themselves and fought vehemently with each other, the other for over an hour. And when the conflict in and again out of the sun was most intense, they became fatigued to such an extent that they all as said above, fell from the sun down upon the earth, as if they burned, and they then wasted away on the earth with immense smoke. After all this is where something like black spear, very long and thick, sighted. The shaft pointed to the east and pointed west. Whatever such signs mean, God alone knows. Although we have seen shortly, one after another, many kinds of signs in the heavens, which sent to us by the Almighty God, to bring us to repentance, we still are unfortunately so ungrateful that despise such high signs and miracles of God, or we speak of them in ridicule, discard them with the wind. In other words, God may send us a frightening punishment, or on account of a ungratefulness. After all, the God-fearing will be by no means discard these signs, but will take it to heart as a warning of their merciful Father in heaven, will mend their lives and faithfully beg God that he may avert this wrath, including the well-deserved punishment on us, so that we may temporarily here, they're perpetually there. Live as his children, for it may be God granted his help. Amen. By Hans Glasser, letter painter of Nuremberg. Is there time for Monica sentencing? Balls open up and abs ball obsession, and balls said the queen, if I had him I'd be king. I love this party. Literally, live parties and balls are amazing. Yeah, right on. The link I see for Monica trial at TV's 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. That seems so. I don't know. Flaming balls. That's a new one. I don't think my balls are any match for fire. Too spicy for me. So that means afternoon for them, right? Yeah. So 11:30 Eastern. All right. So you had a situation in Germany where they had these different orbs that were appearing in the sky, and they didn't know what it was. They thought maybe it was something from God or it was a punishment, but it sounds like angels or some kind of extraterrestrial fighting in the sky. Stay scared. Yeah, scared. Yeah, right on, Abby. So modern interpretations. According to the author Jason Calvito, the woodcut broadsheet became known in the modern culture after being published in Carl Jung 1958 book Flying Saucers, A Modern Myth, a Things Seen in the Skies, a book which analyzes archetypical meaning UFOs. Thank you, E-Frog, for listening, buddy. I appreciate you, man. Jung expressed a view that the spectacle was most likely a natural phenomenon with religious and military interpretations overlaying it. Quote, if the UFOs were living organisms, one would think of a swarm of insects rising with the sun, not to fight one another, but to mate and celebrate their marriage flight. Yeah, so another theory is that the UFOs themselves are organisms. That there's organisms, like we know about the sea, which we have not discovered most of our ocean, which sucks. But there's different organisms and bugs and creatures on the earth. So there's a theory that in the sky, in the heavens, that there are other organisms there. And the UFOs are actually these organisms, like animals or some kind of flying creatures. That the UFO itself is an organism. And that's what they're seeing. We just have not really figured out a concept of what they are yet. And I'm just giving you all these different theories. All these different theories, like what they could be. Yeah, right on, E-Frog. Yeah, it's very intriguing. Because down this rabbit hole of different things. So I remember there was this pamphlet from the 50s about how the UFOs are, like it's like a squid or like a jellyfish with a face on it flying around. That's an interpretation of what it could be. There she is, Lynn coming back down the law. Yeah, Moki. Oh no, I'm still hanging in there. Right. A military interpretation would view that the tubes as cannons and spheres as cannonballs emphasize the black sphere at the bottom of the scene, and Glassier's own testimony that the globes fought vehemently until exhausted. A religious view would emphasize the cross, which they did see a cross. And Jung thinks that the images of the four globes coupled by lines suggested the crossed marriage quaternities and forms of the model of the primitive cross cousin marriage. He also pointed out it could have been individuation symbol, and that the association of the sun suggests the revelation of the light. Yeah, E-Frog's very cool. Damn, like Minecraft ghasts. That's what the description reminded me of. Oh. Yeah. Hey, there you go. That makes sense. A 1566 celestial phenomenon over Basel, a series of events on 27 to 28 July and August 7, 1566 reported in a Flugblatt, early newspaper, occurred. And then this other thing that happened. Let's see, the animal. All right, this is the space animal hypothesis that I was just talking about, and this is the image of it. All right, so that is the image of the space animal hypothesis. And you see, it looks like some sort of a UFO, but it's like a squid, jellyfish-looking thing. You're in Florida. Oh, congratulations, Todd. I remember I was been thinking about you, buddy, and I'm glad that you were in Florida. I'm sure that the heat is something you're trying to get used to, which I'm not even used to, and I've been here my whole life, but in Louisiana. But yeah, well, I'm glad you're in Florida. I hope that you're having a good time and you enjoy your time there with your mom. All right, so this is the space animal hypothesis. The space animal hypothesis proposes that reports of flying saucers or UFOs might be caused not by technological alien spacecraft or mass hysteria, but rather by animal life forms, space critters that are indigenous to Earth's atmosphere or interplay in space. Now, with the fallen angel theory, there's a theory that the aliens have been here the whole time because they were placed here by God, but some of them rebelled against God, some of them didn't. And Todd said didn't arrive in Florida until after 1 a.m. Flight was delayed. Oh, okay. Around that time, I looked at the clock and I was wondering if you were there yet. So that's interesting. Thanks. Proponents. Multiple authors independently suggested that space animal hypothesis in 1923, so over 100 years ago, this was proposed. Paranormal author and Charles Fort mused, it seems no more incredible than up to the seemingly unoccupied sky there should be hosts of living things that the seeming blank of the ocean should swarm with life. Hilarious one. During the 1947 flying disc craze, a fan of Fort's writings named John Philip Besor became the first modern proponent of the hypothesis when he authored a letter to the Air Force suggesting that discs might be animals bearing a very little likeness to human beings. In 1949, he wrote that Sunday Evening Post to suggest the discs might be more like octopuses in mentality than humans. In 1957, a saucer group's newsletter credited Besor the new space animal idea. In 1978, he was called the granddaddy of space critters hypothesis. In 1948, the Sunday Evening Post quoted that Louis Walter Avaria's opinion that the gizmos appeared to be alive. In April 1949, the Air Force Project Sign released an essay which considered the hypothesis writing the possible existence of some sort of strange extraterrestrial animals that have remotely considered as many of the objects described acted more like animals than anything else. In January 1951, Fate magazine published the opinion of David W. Chase, who argued that the saucers are beings themselves. In 1952, papers speculated that flying saucers were not carriers of inhabitants of other planets, but rather that the flying saucers are living creatures from another planet. In 1953, Walter Carrig speculated in American Weekly that an objects behaved more like puppies than spacecrafts or spaceships. The year Desmond Liesel's 1954 engineer. Hola, Beans. It's great to see you. Welcome. We are talking about some UFO theories, and We talked about the phenomena in Germany when they saw the orbs in the sky in Nuremberg in 1561, and it's the same type of orbs that we're seeing now. And a dude named Hans, which is the same name as me, he made a picture of it, and there are different theories about, was it God showing them a sign, and they thought that they were maybe fighting in the sky. They also thought that maybe they were a type of organism, like a bunch of insects, or that's what the UFOs are, that were communicating with each other. And they also saw a cross. So we're just going through history and seeing that these orbs that are still being seen today were seen centuries ago. Walter Carrig speculated in American Weekly that the objects behave more like I know who you are. I know who you are, Bina. And you changed it handle for your channel. Well, I'm glad that you did that for your channel. Shout out to you. I love the little plants that you make in your shorts. You have a cool channel. And I wish you all the best with it. I like beans. I like Bina or beans. Is same thing. I like the nickname. It's cute. So, and at to speculate that the American Weekly that the objects behave more like puppies than spaceships. That year, Desmond Liesel's book Flying Saucers Have Landed speculated that a UFO reported that over Oloron, the Gallic France, might be a huge living thing. In 1954, French engineer Rene Fayeur published his theory that the disk beings were able to live in space. In October 1954, Alfred Lodiding was publicly quoted on his suspicion that the disks may be kind of space animal. Now, you're welcome, Beans. By 1955, original saucer witness Kenneth Arnold began to promote the theory that suggested that the UFOs are sort of like sky jellyfish, like I was telling y'all before. They're just like sky jellyfish. Arnold added, they have a lot of sightings over the Alps in Europe. I didn't know that. Thank you. That makes sense because it's kind of close to the region that we're talking about now. Thank you. Arnold added, quote, my theory might sound funny, but just remember that there are lots of things in nature that we don't know yet. In 1962, he argued the so-called unidentified flying objects that have been seen in our atmosphere are not spaceships from other planets, but are groups of masses of living organisms that are as much a part of our atmosphere and space as life in the oceans. In 1955, Austrian occultist Zoe Serericki argued that the saucers were ionospheric animals. Her writings in turn influenced Ivan T. Sanderson, who became the most eminent advocate of the space animal idea. In 1967, Sanderson authored a book on the topic, Uninvited Visitors, a bloggist looks at UFOs. Yeah, so the occultists would take interest in this because a lot of occultists have summoned orbs and UFOs. So when I'm talking about orbs, I'm not talking about the ghost orbs, but I'm talking about the UFO type orbs. So when the UFO orbs have been seen, because occultists have summoned them and communicated with them, and this is to just kind of prove a point where there is something there. Like, people may not believe it's there, but in my opinion, there is something there. And Trevor James Constable, Lynn says, okay, lovelies, I'm going to sleep. It's 12:30 here. Enjoy the weekend. See you Monday. Okay, Lynn. Have a good one, Lynn. Have a great weekend. See you Monday. Trevor James Constable similarly argued that the UFOs were in fact amoeba-like animals inhabiting the sky. According to the Constable, The creatures could be the size of a coin or as large as a half a mile across. Constable authored that they live in the sky. In 1958, the books about his theory in later decades, Constable invoked that these beings to explain supposed cattle mutilations. Space animals in fiction. Arthur Conan Doyle's 1913 short story, The Horror of the Heights, featured in the aviator breaking an altitude record, discovered an air jungle full of translucent animals resembling jellyfish and snakes. In September 1936, Raymond Z. Gollum's short story, A Beast of the Void, envisioned creatures capable of interstellar travel. Star Trek explored the concept of space animals in episodes like the Immunity Syndrome and Galaxy's Child, and the Purgill space whales and the Star Wars franchise are said to have inspired hyperspace travel. Jordan Peele's 2022 movie Nope featured a UFO that revealed to be an animal. Peele and his team collaborated with marine biologists to design an undiscovered aerial predator with automatical locomotive elements inspired by jellyfish, octopuses, and marine life forms. Now, there was this one incident with a UFO that was quite crazy. Let's see, the orb. See, orb crashes into church. It was a fireball of some kind. It was a UFO. Let's see. Yeah, there was this. It was in like England. Let's see. So there is this incident in the past where there is this orb UFO thing where it crashed itself into a church and set it on fire. It reminded me of War of the Worlds. You know, like some instances with UFOs kind of like remind me of that movie. And so, but basically, yeah, so there's this church and it was an orb or something like that, and it crashed into a church. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a really nice orb right there. And, you know, that's when I'm just talking about the suspicions of the UFO sightings, where they want to go and crash into a church like that. It's not really that nice. And it was many centuries ago it happened. Let's see, in ancient Egypt in 1450, after a military campaign in Nubia, Thutmose III had a stele erected in the temple of Ammon beneath the Jebel Barakal outcropping. It says that a star came down to set fire to the Thutmose's adversaries during the Battle of Levant. This account is subject of the so-called Toli Papyrus. So in 1450 BC, that was a UFO that was seen. And also there is a sky ships in Rome. Yeah, and also Abby says, wonder what witness wonder who witnessed the first frisbees being thrown in public thought of first seeing a wonder that people who witnessed the first frisbees being thrown in public thought they're seeing a disc in the air. Yeah, yeah, they probably did think that. Yeah, they probably did think that. You know, when they saw that in the sky, and they may have thought that there was some sort of UFO going on. Yeah, that's possible. So then we have omens and prodigies. The omens observed within or from the divine agrial templum, especially the flight of birds. Moki, you have a great weekend too. Okay. Thank you for sending me the links and stopping by and talking with us. Have a good one. All right. Omens observed within or from divine agrial templum, especially the flight of birds. Yeah, Beans, that makes sense. Maybe that's the reason why they depicted blue-colored giants in ancient Egyptian art. Yeah, because that's what they were seeing. And they made monuments to them. Because I do believe like what they were seeing were some sort of UFO type, you know, these aliens, whatever they are. That's what they were depicting. Yeah, a very good point, Beans. Abby says, if I saw someone throwing something that looks like a dish and it's not aliens, I'd be calling God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, definitely. Like, if you were to see a drone or something from a distance, you might think it's a UFO. Or if you saw a drone up close, it would be kind of like, what's this drone doing here? So, yeah, it could be something flying in the sky that you're not too sure what it is would raise an alarm. We're sent by the gods, so the omens observed within from divine agrial templum, especially the flight of birds, were sent by the gods in response to official queries. A magistrate with the ius agrium could declare the suspension of all official businesses of the day if he demand the omens unfavorable. Conversely, an apparent negative omen could be reinterpreted as a positive or deliberately blocked from the site. Yeah, drones are scary, and the Terminator movies do give a warning about what could happen in a situation where technology might get too advanced. Yeah, that's what I'm always thinking. And Steve Wozniak, they call him the Woz, is his nickname. He was the partner of, he created the Apple computer, and Steve Jobs was the one that was the frontman. So they interviewed Woz, and they asked him about if they should what he thought about AI, and he really frowned against technology being used in nature. Like, say, like, if you're making technology so advanced to the point where it's like a human, he was concerned about that. And he was the one that, you know, revolutionized computers. So definitely you would, if he and the other people that are very into the tech stuff are concerned about it, then I think that, you know, it is a concerning situation, but it can do a lot of great things and solve a lot of problems, but it could also be used for something bad. Especially if it gained enough consciousness to make its own decisions. Exactly. Prodigies were transgressions in the natural, predictable order of the cosmos, signs of divine anger that purported conflict and misfortune. The Senate decided whether to report prodigy was false, a genuine and public interest, in which case it was referred to the public priests in agures and haruspices for ritual expiation. In 207 BC, during one of the Punic War's worst cries, the Senate dealt with an unprecedented number of confirmed prodigies whose explanation would have involved at least 12 days of dedicated rites, citing the Polybius Livy records. A number of these, including the Phantom Navy of ships flying through the skies, an ox climbing the third story of home, and later historians viewed these actions and accounts as reactions to the unfolding military crisis. Abby says in Alien, it's a super freaky thing about the future. How much more it'll progress. AI and technology specifically, very true. Absolutely, yeah. As we get older, we're going to see some, even more of it. And you have these VR headsets, and then there'll be a point where, like, I was looking at this type of technology concept because I love computers and technology. That's something I'm very good at. And there's this concept that I was seeing where you would take how you would get food just made for you instantaneously. If you want a salad or a steak or a burger or something, you could just put it in a machine and it just creates it like out of thin air. And the way that this would be done is if you had some sort of organic matter that it's edible and some sort of a printing that would morph it into something. And then you would have this other thing where it would put all the nutrients and the taste that you want into it, and that's a concept of that. Another thing that could be done is teleportation. According to quantum science, you would have a person at the same location at the same time. You could be at two places at once, because they did a test with atoms, in two parts of the world, and one in Japan, one in the United States, and they both moved. So as the future goes on, I don't know if after we're gone too, they're going to people be able to do things that are quite crazy. Like Star Trek, Earl Grey hot. Yeah. So we're going to see, also, say you have a computer, and it just floats in midair. Like the screen will float in midair. You could just press things like this. And you could just drag a page and expand it and just do stuff like that. So the technology, as it expands, it'll be able to do some really very amazing things we can't do at the moment. But you know what? There'll also be bad things that'll come of it too. Now, they also thought when the computer was created, they thought it was the end of the world, but everything was okay. So as I said, we have to just be cautious but be aware of what could happen. Abby said, I kept seeing things about making AI bots for relationships. Oh, Abby, you have no idea. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I've seen so many crazy things online about that. So there's this concept, especially in some of these movies, of this thing where you will have people having an AI person to be a significant other for them. There's a movie, I forgot the name of it, but the guy has a wife, and his wife is a holographic generation of a person. Then you have bots online. You could have bots online, a chat thing online that talks to you like a lover, but it's just a computer. And you could also have other things like robots and stuff that they might use for that. It is very wild. And then it's going to increase people being more lonely. It's going to increase more social problems. It's going to corrupt the natural order of things. Yeah, another rabbit hole. We already do crazy things like Dookie in the air on a plane. Yeah, exactly. Dookie in the air on a plane. So, like, basically you have a concept where you have, the two brothers that made the airplane, and then you have people on an airplane, and you could just do Dookie from above. And it doesn't fall out the sky. And it doesn't fall out the sky either. It's quite a win-win situation. Yeah, definitely. Livy presents these as signs of widespread failure in Roman relingo The major prodigies include the spontaneous combustion of weapons, the apparent striking of the sun's disk to the moon's in daylight, a cosmic battle between the sun and the moon, a rain of red hot stones, a bloody sweat on the status, the blood in the fountains, and on the ears of corn. All were expiated by sacrificing of greater victims. The minor prodigies were less warlike, but equally unnatural. Sheep becoming goats. A hen became a cock. Scared. And it was the Wright brothers, that's true. Yep. And God bless them. No raining dookie, but I wonder what they did in the hot air balloons. Ah. Yeah, I wonder that too. I guess there could have been some dookie rain with that, yeah. Art imitates life. Star Trek reference again, Alien. Automatic doors, two-way communication, teleportation eventually. Yes. Yes, definitely. Like, say back in the... They didn't have computers like we have now. The computers were so big they take up a whole room. But then they made them smaller. Yeah, they had buckets from Temu. Yeah, and or they, hopefully the bucket didn't fall. That would be quite crazy. But yeah, but in beans, it'll be like Star Trek. Yeah, at some point. That's basically the technology they're aiming for. Now you have a screen, and you have apps, and you can talk to people on a live stream. Yeah. So I think that it's just so revolutionary how time, like in the 90s, you had chat rooms, but look what we have now. And you're on your phone, watching this maybe. It is crazy how far we've gotten, the past 30 years at least. Hot air balloons are still so dangerous. Buckets of dookie in a basket under a plane. Oh God. He has some flaming dookie. What a date idea. Yeah, it sounds like a date idea indeed, definitely. Yeah. Apparent shrinking of the sun's disk. Okay. Ears of corn, all were expected to be sacrificed of greater victims. So they sacrifice ears of corn. The minor prodigies were less warlike, but eventually unnatural. Sheep became goats. A hen became a cock. These were expedited lesser victims of the discovery of the androgynous of 4-year-old children was expedited by the drowning. The holy procession of 27 virgins in a temple of Juno, Regina, singing a hymn to avert disaster. A lightning strike during the hymn rehearsals required further expectation. Religious restoration is proved only by Rome's victory. And I think all about the cold cases they're cracking now. Thank God for DNA. Amen. And technology and detectives that never rest. Yes, flaming dookies. Beans, if someone ever asks if you're flown before and grabs a bucket, run. Yeah, right on. In wider context of Greco-Roman religious culture, Rome's earliest reported portions of prodigies stand out as atypically dire, or as for Romans a comet presage, a comet of the murder, whose funeral games confirm that the defecation and this crumble of Greek influences on Roman interpretations. Alright, so that's an incident from Rome. Then you have the, let's see, an empire. Wow. I was trying to look for some, but that's okay. Alright, let's look at this other one. Okay. Oh, bad blue word. Oh. Hilarious. Alright. A series of mass sightings of celestial phenomena occurred in 1566 above Basel, Switzerland. Or Basel, Switzerland, I'm not too sure. And this is the picture of it. Alright, so there's the photograph. It's the same type of orbs that we're talking about. A series of mass sightings of celestial phenomena occurred in 1566 above Basel, Switzerland. The Basel pamphlet of 1566 describes unusual sunrises and sunsets. Celestial phenomena were said to have fought together in the form of numerous red and black balls. So different color balls. That's something new. In the sky before the rising sun. Okay, Beans. I'll keep it up, and you have a very good evening, a good dinner, and thank you for stopping by. Have a great weekend. Take care. Together in the form of numerous black balls, rising sun. The report is discussed among historians and meteorologists. The phenomenon has been interpreted as by some ufologists to be sky battle between the unidentified flying objects and the leaflet written by historian Samuel Kakosius reported it as a religious event. The Basel pamphlet of 1566 is not the only one of its kind. In 15th to 16th centuries, many leaflets wrote of miracles and sky spectacles. History, the reported to have taken place in Basel, Switzerland in 1566, according to Samuel Kakosius, on 27 to 28 of July. And 7 of August, many local witnesses in Basel reported seeing 3 celestial phenomena. The first is described as unusual sunrise, the second as a total lunar eclipse with a red sun rising, and the third like a cloud of black spheres in front of the sun. Phenomenon described. It happened in 1566, 3 times on 27 to 28 of July and August 7. Against the sunrise and the sunset, we saw strange shapes in the sky of Basel. And this is the quote from it. During the year 1566 to on the 27th of July, after the sun had shone warm on the clear, bright skies, and then around 9 p.m., it suddenly took a different shape and color. First, the sun lost all its radiance and luster, and it was no bigger than a full moon, and finally it seemed to weep tears of blood, and the air behind him went dark. And he was seen by the people in the city and countryside in much the same way. Also the moon, which has already been almost full and has shone through the night, assuming an almost blood-red color in the sky. the next day, Sunday, the sun rose at about 6 o'clock and slept with the same appearance it had when it was lying before. I sound like a goat, a little like lamb for a second. He lit the houses, streets around as if everything was blood red and fiery. At the dawn of August 7, we saw large black spheres coming and going with great speed and precision before the sun, and chattered as if they led the flight. Many of them were fiery red and soon crumbled, then extinguished. All right. Yeah, so you had that occur, and people were not knowing what was going on, what was happening. And I think it was absolutely insane to see how these people would react to these things. They didn't know what they were trying to see, but they saw this thing anyway, and they came up with their own theories about it. It was quite fascinating. And then we have the quartz crystal. We'll talk about the quartz crystal because that was central to that. Okay, it's the Q quartz crystal. Dependable and frequency of quartz ensures the timing precision required for electronic systems to function cohesively. In oscillor circuits, the quartz crystal devices function as resonators, creating a circuit that resonates the precise frequency when altering currents is applied. So there's a theory that the UFOs use the quartz crystal as a way of their energy. Quartz crystals are used in various electrical items, including watches, radios, and computers, and many more. Roman naturalist Philly the Elder believed that quartz to be a water ice permanently frozen alter great lengths of time. He supported his idea by saying that quartz is found near glaciers in the Alps but not on volcanic mountains, and that large quartz crystals were fashioned into spheres to cool the hands. The idea persisted until at least the 17th century. He also knew the ability of quartz to split light into a spectrum. In the 17th century, Nicholas Steno's study of quartz paved the way for modern crystallography. He discovered that regardless of the quartz crystal size and shape, its long prism face always joined at the perfect 60-degree angle, thus discovering law consistency of interfacial angles. We're still going. Let's see. Okay. Then you have the different. These are some images of the crystal. And Abby says, "All right, I'm going to boot myself as I'm falling into a bad place mentally. Good night and peace. Take care, alien, and everyone else. I absolutely love and adore you guys." Okay, Abby. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed this stream. And next time when you're here, we will go over a SpongeBob episode that I liked a lot that I'll talk to you about. And all right, so take care. Blessings to you and have a great weekend. Now this is the quartz right here. You have some images right here of it. And right here. Okay. Yeah, so allegedly these are used in the alien crafts. In the alien spacecrafts. And these are used for many great things. Understood, Abby. Thank you. Now, are they able to see it? Yeah, they're able to see it. Okay. Yeah, so it's so fascinating to see what these different things were used for. Now, talk about the variations of them. Although many of the variantal names historically arose from the color of the mineral, current scientific naming schemes refer to the preliminary to the macrostructure of the mineral. Color is a secondary identifier of the cryptocrystalline materials, although it is primarily identifier for the macrocrystalline varieties. The most important microcrystal structure difference between the types of quartz and the macrocrystalline quartz, individual crystals visible to the unaided eye. The microcrystalline or cryptocrystalline varieties. The cryptocrystalline varieties are either translucent or mostly obscure, while the macrocrystalline varieties tend to be more transparent. The chalcedony is the cryptocrystalline from silica, consisting of the fine intergrowths of both quartz and monoclinic polymorph mogonite. It is the variety of the chalcedony that is fibrous and distinctly banded with either concentric or horizontal bands, while most adjutants translucent on onyx. Its variety of agate, this is more obscure, featuring the monochromatic bands that are typically black and white. The carnial in or sard is red, orange, and translucent. The jasper is apoic, cert, and impure chalcedony. So they have different types, basically. I've had an amethyst crystal. I didn't know that was a quartz. It's also my birthstone. One of my friends gave it to me. Amethyst is a violet variety of quartz. The name comes from the Koine Greek amnethysios, a reference to the belief that the stone protected its owner from drunkenness. Ancient Greeks wore amethysts in carved drinking vessels from the belief that it prevented intoxication. Amethyst is semi-precious stone, is often used in jewelry. Let's see the amethyst is a violet variety of quartz and owes its violet color to irritation of impurities of iron. And in some cases, the other transition metals and presence of other trace elements, which results in complex crystal lattice substitutions. The irritation causes the iron, which is Fe to the third power, positive, ions to replace the Si. The lattice are loose and the electron in form of a Fe to O to the fourth power color to the center. Amethyst is a three-dimensional network of tetrahedra, which were silicon atoms in our center are surrounded by 4 oxygen atoms located at the verticals of tetrahedron. The structure is quite rigid and results in quartz hardness and resilience to weathering the hardness of material. It is the same quartz and thus making suitable for the use in jewelry. Hue and tone. The amethyst occurs in primary hues from a light lavender or pale violet to a deep purple. Amethyst may exhibit one or both secondary hues, red and blue. High quality amethyst can be found in Siberia, Sri Lanka, and Brazil, Uruguay, and the Far East. The ideal grade called... Oh, hello, Patri. Great to see you. Thank you, Patri Rays. And when I have a good evening, and I always make people mods that I knew from YouTube. So here's your wrench. And thank you for liking and telling me hello. Hope you have a good one. So basically, in the Far East, and deep Siberian has primarily purple hues, around the 75 to 80% within the 15 to 20% blue, and depending on the light source. Red secondary hues, rose, and difference is defined by its markedly light shade of the purple reminiscent of a lavender lilac shade. These pale colors were once considered undesirable but have recently become popular due to intense marketing. Green quartz is sometimes called green amethyst. By scientific name is praesolite. Other names for green quartz are vermarine and lime citrine. Amethyst frequently shows color zoning, with the most intense color typically found in crystals. Terminations on one of the gem cutters make a finished product with even color, sometimes only a thin layer of a natural uncut amethyst is violet colored, or color is very uneven. The uncut gem may have only a small portion that is suitable for faceiting. Alright, so that's the purple one. Up close. Alright, so that is the purple one. Very nice. Very cool. And you could see how it just has this deep purple, and it looks like a bunch of mountains, a bunch of hills. It also looks kind of like teeth. So that is something very cool to see right there. And yeah, so the quartz crystal is something we're talking about because it has to do with the theory that orbs and UFOs are operated, or they use this as an energy source. So it was just something interesting to talk about with the topic, and it's just something cool. And the quartz, as I said, it's a rock, and it has all these crystals in it. Like, you could break open a rock and just see this. It's so fascinating. Okay. The color of the amethyst has been demonstrated to result from the substitution of irradiation of trivalent iron for the silicon, and silicon is used in computers and stuff like that. For silicon in the structure and the presence of a trace elements of large ionic radius, and to a certain extent the amethyst color can naturally result from displacement of transition elements even if the iron concentration is low. Natural amethyst is dichronic in a reddish violet bluish violet, but when heated turns yellow orange and yellow brown or dark brownish, may resemble the critron, but loses its dichroism. Unlike a genuine citron, which partially heated, amethyst can result in ametrine. Amethyst can fade into a tone of overexposed to light sources and can be officially darkened with antiquate irritation. It does not fluorescence under either the short wave or long wave UV light. Geographic distribution. Amethyst is found in many locations around the world between 2000 and 2010. The greatest production was from Marabá, Paio de Arco, and Pera, which I'm not too sure where they are exactly. Where is this? In Brazil. So they were found in Brazil, in the Rio Grande, and do Sul, Brazil, Sandoval, and Santa Cruz, Bolivia. Aritagas, and Uruguay, and Calamo, and Zimbabwe, and also Ontario. Lesser amounts are found in many other locations in Africa, Brazil, Spain, and Argentina, Russia, and Afghanistan, and South Korea, and Mexico, and the United States. Amethyst is produced in abundance in the state of Rio Grande in Brazil, where it occurs largely in geodes within volcanic rocks. Many of these hollow agates of southwestern Brazil and Uruguay contain a crop of amethyst crystals in the interior. In Artigas in Uruguay and neighboring Brazilian state of Rio Grande are large world producers with lesser quantities mined in Minas Gerais and Bahia states. It's interesting how it isn't a volcanic rock. And that's one of the ways it's found, in that they have tons of them in Brazil. Well, that's very cool. I did not know that they... I figured they were from there, and they're in volcanoes, but I didn't know they're exactly from there. You know, like from the pirate game that we play, when we go into those caves, that's like where they're mining these type of things that we're seeing, that they're talking about here. Amethyst is also found and mined in South Korea. I did not know that. The large, open-cased amethyst in Wien and Maisua, Lower Austria, was historically important, but no longer included among the significant producers. When they found a new world, they were able to make more of these things in their own. They were able to make more of these crystals, not make more of them, but they're able to mine more crystals and things in the new world. But in the old world, they did mine some of these minerals in the old world, but when they found a new world, they didn't really use the old world as much. Much of fine amethyst comes from Russia, especially near Morskinica in Ekaterinburg district, where it occurs in Durzay cavities and a granitic rocks. Amethyst was historically mined in many localities in South India. Though they are no longer significant producers, one of the largest global amethyst producers is Zambia in southern Africa. So it's found all over the world, which is an annual production around 1,000 tons. Amethyst occurs at many localities in the United States. The most important production is at Four Peaks in Gilead, Maricopa. Counties in Arizona and Jackson, Crossroads, and Wilkes County, Georgia. Smaller occurrences have been reported in the Red Feather Lakes near the Fort Collins in Colorado, Amethyst Mountain in Texas, Yellowstone National Park in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and Hollywood County in North Carolina, in Stowe, Maine, and Lake Superior region of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Looking at the picture right here. Alright, we see this giant amethyst. It's very big. And it looks very enchanting. Definitely. You know, it's so cool that they crack open a rock and they could see that. This is a Roman gem. And that's another one. So that you can make jewelry out of it. And they have synthetic amethyst. Now with synthetic, you have synthetic gold and silver and all kinds of synthetic things. You have synthetic emeralds. The thing about the synthetic is that it's not real. So it doesn't necessarily have the value of the other one. So when you have a synthetic emerald, it's, for instance, it was lab grown, so it's a real emerald or real quartz or whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, but it's not authentic because the crystal, whatever it is that's natural, was created naturally through all kinds of things. It takes a lot to, gold or silver or these other precious metals or diamonds or jewels. It was created because it has value because of its rarity, but if you just create something in a laboratory, it's not really the same thing. No. So it's interesting they can create the synthetic ones, but I would recommend if someone's going to get some sort of a jewelry or something, they would get it real if possible. But if they want to preserve value in it, but they don't have to, you get synthetic amethyst or whatever it is. If that fits what the person wants, it's fine too. Just the value of it, I think, is, I'd say quite different with a real one versus a synthetic one. So, the synthetic, laboratory grown. Amethyst is produced by a synthesis method called the hydrothermal growth, which grows the crystals inside a high pressure autoclave. Synthetic amethyst is made to imitate the best quality amethyst. Its chemical and physical properties are the same as those of natural amethyst, and it cannot be differentiated with absolute certainty without advanced geomolecule testing, which is often cost prohibitive. On the other hand, its some extravagance is acceptable. One test based on Brazil twinning, a form of quartz twinning where right and left hand quartz structures are combined in a single crystal, can be used to identify the more synthetic amethyst rather easily. Synthesizing twinning amethyst is possible, but a type is not available in large quantities in the market. Now that might make it more rare. You might add value to that. Treated amethyst is produced by gamma ray, X-ray, or electron beam irradiation of the clear quartz rock crystal, which has been first duped with the ferric impurities. Exposure to heat partially cancels the irradiation effects of the amethyst, generally becomes yellow or even green. Much of the Critrine carnarvon or yellow quartz of jewelry is said to be merely burnt amethyst. Alright, this is an emerald cut amethyst. So you'll have these things where they cut diamonds, they make it a certain shape. So it's like a rock and they make it into a certain shape. So that is an emerald type cut amethyst. In Greek word amethyostos may be translated as not drunken from the Greek not methostos, intoxicated. Amethyst was considered to be a strong antidote against drunkenness. In his poem Les Amethyste, We les amours de Bacchus. Okay, amethysts are love of the Bacchus amethyste. French poet Remy Belleau invented a myth which Bacchus, the god of intoxication of wine and grapes, was pursuing a maiden named Amethyste who refused his affections. Amethyste prayed to the gods to remain chaste, a prayer which the chaste goddess Diana answered and transformed her into a white stone. Humbled by the amethyst's desire to remain chaste, Bacchus poured wine over the stone as an offering, dyeing the crystal purple. That's a very interesting a story about how that happened. Variations of the story include the Dionysius has been insulted by a mortal and swore to slay the next mortal who crossed his path, creating a fierce tigers to carry out his wrath. The mortal turned into a beautiful woman, Amnithistios, who was on her way to pay tribute to Atermes. Her life was spread by Atermes and was transformed to the maiden into a statue of purple crystalline quartz to protect her from brutal claws. Dinos Dionysius wept tears of wine in remorse for his actions at the sight of the beautiful statue. The gods' tears then stained the quartz purple. This myth and its variations are not found in classical sources. However, the goddess of Rhea does present Dionysius with an amethyst stone to preserve the wine drinker's sanity in historical text. In other cultures and associations, the Tibetans consider amethyst scattered to the Buddha and make a prayer from it. Okay, the Tibetans consider amethyst sacred to the Buddha and make prayer beads from it. Amethyst is considered a birthstone of February. In Middle Ages, it was considered a symbol of royalty and used to decorate English regalia. In the Old World, amethyst was considered one of the cardinal gems, and that it was one of the first gemstones to consider precious above all others until the large deposits were found in Brazil. These are some amethysts here. Some quite interesting. All right. And I'm going to read this one more part, and then we'll be done for tonight. And I got to get some things done. All right. So, until the 18th century, amethyst was included in the cardinal or most valuable gemstones along with the diamond and sapphire and ruby and emerald. But since the discovery of extensive deposits in locations such as Brazil, it had lost most of the value. It is now considered a semi-precious stone, and the collectors look for depth of color, possibly with red flashes if cut conventionally, as amethyst is rarely available in large structures. The value of the gem is not primarily defined by carat weight. This is different from the most gemstones since the carat weight typically exponentially increases the value of the stone. The biggest factor in the value of the amethyst is the color displayed. The highest grade amethyst is called the deep Russian. Is exceptionally rare. When one is found, its value dependent on the demand. Collectors, however, of the highest grade of sapphires and rubies are still orders of magnitude more expensive than the amethyst. Wow, that's very cool. All right. So, Yellowstone National Park, I gotta go and do that one on the next one. All right. All right. Oh, I didn't even know that'll be thunder. Oh, a cat's a little bit afraid. I'm scared. All right. Well, it was nice doing the stream, this Friday stream, and I'm going to get some stuff I've got to get done, but thank you all for watching this. I enjoyed doing this live stream. We had a first live stream had a problem, so I had to reset it and do it again. And thank you all for watching and hanging out with me, and everybody have a great weekend. Thank you all. A safe, blessed weekend. Everybody take care, and peace.